Good afternoon, and welcome to Artbeat Studios um, live art demonstration. Uh, it's a little bit different. Normally, we're in the office or we're over at Upbeat doing our live art demos, but we are actually on holidays, taking a bit of a break, a time to sort of reflect and gather and just feel relaxed. But we still wanted to um, be here with you in a creative way. Um, yeah, so today I'll be working on a painting demo, but I want to just mention that if you're not familiar, welcome. This is Artbeat Studio, our YouTube channel. And we are an organization that really believes in the healing power of art. We really know, we know, all of us, we're on the spectrum. Our mental health can be high, our mental health can be low, but what we really want to encourage is for people to engage with their creative side. That creativity can really help to make us feel grounded, to make you feel centered, and can just make you feel good. Art has the power to make you feel good. So that's why we're here today. Whether you participate or follow along, that's great. But if you want, you can just watch me paint and feel relaxed as I paint. I think Ollie and Marissa, they were here the past couple of days, and I know I saw Marissa did some collaging, which is super cool. Loved that look. And then Ollie did some painting with acrylics. And it's really cool to see the diversity in these creative mediums. And you can get a sense that it's not all just one thing. That creativity in art is a multitude of different mediums. So today, I'm gonna be doing some work with watercolor painting. So sort of to carry on from what Ollie was talking about with their art, we'll be using, I'll show you my supplies. We'll be using like a brush, some water, we have canvas paper, which is nice, watercolor, and the paints. So I'll start getting into my setup here, so you kind of know what we're doing. I'll end up like switching the phone around right now, so you won't be just looking at me. I'll try to adjust it so you can actually see down and see what I'm doing. But I wanted to, show you sort of what I do as a creative person. So when I'm doing creative things, I always need to have, Marissa can attest to this, and Ollie, all of us. I got a drink. I got a nice fresh Americano from a local coffee shop here in the Exchange. Very good. And then I also like to have some snacks. I like to have some treats. So today I have some Jelly Bellies. Yeah, you know, I actually love Jelly Bellies. They're so good. Okay. Just 1 second. I'm just gonna put a pause on this for 1 moment. Okay, we're back. There we go. Just had to adjust my phone. I also haven't done one of these lives like this. During the pandemic, we used to do them all the time. And we sort of really got into the swing of it. And I knew what to do, you know? Like I knew what buttons to push and how to set up the camera. And then today I was like, I haven't done this in so long. So I'm like fumbling with my phone and yeah, it's just funny. Oh, my own like private chaos. Okay, so first things first, we got coffee, and then I have a little dish with some jelly bellies. So that just sort of sets the tone. We're here in my studio. I have an art studio in the Exchange District, nice big chandelier behind me. So I find it really nice to work here and to work on my stuff. So we're set up, we're comfortable. Now let's talk about what you need for this. So I'm gonna switch the phone around now so that you can actually kind of see what I'm doing below. So hold on 1 second. I'm gonna see if I can switch this around. Oh yes, I can. Bye. Let's see the Exchange there. So we're gonna flip this around. Okay, that's not too bad. Okay, so not too bad. What I'll do is I will end up sort of lifting up my painting as I'm working on it. Or maybe I can move this closer. Oh yeah. So maybe we'll do that. Okay, all right. So we've got watercolor paper. We've got the water here. I'm just gonna put this here. I've got some brushes you can see, just a multitude. So with watercolor painting, you want a specific type of watercolor. You can see it's watercolor. This is BN Fang. And then to get into the nitty gritty, it's actually, you can see, 140 pounds. So, you know, it's a heavier weight paper. So because you are working with water and paint, if it was a thinner paper, what would happen is, you know, the sides of the paper will curl up. That still happens a bit with this, but it happens less because it is a heavier weight. So you can, it's hard to see, but okay. So what I want to do is to encourage it to not like bend up so much is I'm going to take a little bit of painter's tape. So this is from Dollarama, and I'm just going to tape down the edges here. Let's put one in each corner. And that will just stop the paper from moving around. Watercolor is really nice because if you do get watercolor on like your table, your surface, notice I haven't covered it with paper. Normally you would have like your table covered with paper, but pretty easy going. But watercolor I find wipes up really nicely. So if you have a baby wipe or like a warm cloth and some warm water, that can really help lift paint that might be on the surface. Okay, so got that. Make sure you can see that. Okay, so now this is where I'm going to mix the paint. So I just have like this tray, and I have something called palette paper. So palette paper is really great. It's good because you can take a sheet of it and you can set it. It's hard to see, but like it's kind of waxy. So what it does is it holds the paint on it. You can mix on it, and the paper won't shred or it won't fall apart because it's a nice sort of waxy paper. You can see that sheen there. Okay. So I'm going to tape this down to here as well. I'm just going to do one little piece there. And yeah, I think I'll just stick with that. So I'm just going to bring you up to speed with what we're doing. So here's the setup I have. So this is the watercolor paper. I've taped it down here. And this is just to keep it in place, but I can mix my paints. My paints will be mixed on here, and then we'll be painting onto this. So now let's put this back. And that's basically the setup. So the setup is really easy. Not easy, I shouldn't say that. It's minimal. The setup is minimal. Okay, so I didn't even tell you what we were painting. We're actually doing a landscape. I do lots of landscapes. It's like sort of my jam. It's a go-to for me. So let's see the paper here. What I want to do is I'm going to take a pencil and I'm going to create a horizon line. So when you're doing a landscape, I'm doing mine portrait style, vertical. The horizon line is just a good way for you to break up the paper. So like the top half will be the sky and the bottom part will be the horizon. Will be like where the land is. So what we usually do is we want to block it so the horizon line is about 3/4 of the way down. This is flexible, so this is all based. It's all very subjective, but generally speaking, if you're looking for sort of a rule of thumb, I would say 3/4 of the way down. So you can see. Here's my pencil. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna eyeball it. So I'm gonna go here. And then, so I want just a nice sort of rough line just to indicate where it is. I'm going to go lightly as well. And there we go. So now, one thing I like to do, you can see I've used tape at the corners to hold it down. We're actually going to use the tape to section off this horizon line. So once I get the tape down, I'll tell you why. So I'm going to take the tape and find where that horizon line, where I drew it. I'm just going to put that tape down on the edge of that horizon line. Just like that. So when you're painting with the watercolor, whether it's watercolor or acrylic or oils, whatever your medium happens to be, taping it allows you to get a night to paint. We'll paint in this whole space here. We'll create the sky, and then it allows for a nice clean finish. So once we're done painting the sky area, we'll do some blues, create some cloud effects. Then we'll pull the tape up, and then you'll get to see this sort of very cool, very clean line. Okay, so we got the paints. This is the watercolor paints. And I realized I did this whole setup with my palette paper. I'm working with a palette. So technically I don't really need the palette paper, but I am gonna keep it here just in case, because I might want to use this paper to mix some colors. Okay, so I'll show you that little setup. Okay, hold on one moment. We're going to check on something. There we go. Okay. Okay, so now, when you're working with watercolors, one sort of fun technique that we like to use, that we've talked about before, it's sort of one of the basics of watercolor painting is, if you haven't worked with watercolor is a medium that really reacts well to like moisture, But one technique we use is called wet on wet. And that means I'm gonna take water like this. I'm gonna use a big brush. I'm basically gonna just brush water across this paper. Get some more. So you want it to be not like soaked, but you do want it to be wet. So the wet on wet technique comes from the idea of we're making the paper wet, and then like so. Then we're going to take a brush, a smaller brush, and we're going to pick blue, and then we're going to actually pull. We'll start putting the wet blue onto the wet paper. So what you get is, you can see it kind of spreads out. Yeah, look at that. So that just allows the color to spread. You get a nice sort of spreading. The color goes nicely onto the paper. So if you are working along with me, you're grabbing some blue watercolor, and we're just gonna dab this color all over. And you wanna let the watercolor sort of, when it's wet on wet, it'll go different places. Like you can already see here, it's sort of moving in whatever direction it wants to. And that's okay, that is great. That means the wet on wet technique is working. And you can kind of see the paper is sort of pulling up a bit. So it still does happen, but if it was thinner, it would be like curling up really, really bad. But because it's a heavier paper, it's not. So I just sort of dab the blue all across. I'm just creating this like sky. You can see how there's like these white parts that are in it. So those are sort of giving a cloudy effect. And then we're just going to keep adding this blue to the paper. And see, now we're getting down here where this tape is, and I can just simply paint over and not worry about like impacting the bottom part. Watercolor does dry pretty quickly, which is kind of nice, because we'll have to come back. And add more colors. This sky will probably be very moody. I love a moody sky, where the clouds look volatile. But if you want, you could do like a nice clean blue sky. So I like this. I like the way it's looking right now. Let's just go up. It's getting sort of you can see this sort of effect how it, because of the wet on wet, the blue sort of has spread out in certain spaces, but it's creating a really neat effect. Okay, so that's blue. We are gonna play with that. Okay, good, you can see that. I also have some paper towel here. That's just, I can use this to dab my brush. Okay. So I'm just gonna dab my brush just to get some of that color out. Now for my sky, it's still a little bit wet. So I think what we're gonna do is, I want to add just a little bit of this white, but I want to mix it with a little bit of the blue. So I'm gonna moisten up the white. go. Let's just try adding some white to this as well. And I really encourage you to, you know, to make the sky how you want to make it. I'm here to provide sort of like a little bit of a guideline, a little bit of structure, but really this isn't paint by numbers. This is me working as an artist on this paper. And then hopefully folks can sort of glean some good information for your own practice, and then you can bring this into your own practice and make it your own. I think one of the coolest things about that I've learned from Artbeat is how we can uplift each other in the community, how we can just provide supports, and we can learn from each other. Oh, excuse me. So this white is nice. It's kind of adding a bit more dimension. Yeah, nice. I like that. Now I'm trying to think of like another color that I could potentially add. I'm gonna have a sip of my coffee. Yeah. I think I'm gonna try adding a little bit of, I'm gonna use a smaller brush. Let's see, that's a bit of a smaller edge. And what we're gonna do is we're going to get that brush wet. I'm gonna try adding a little bit of yellow. See if I can create like a sense of like the light, the sun. So when I think about adding a color like this yellow, I think of light as when you have this type of sky. I'll show you. I like to take the yellow and add like around the edges of certain things. So it's as if the light's sort of wanting to peek out. So you can see that. So just really nice and delicate. As if there's like little pockets of light wanting to peek out around these clouds. Go up here. And this just adds a little bit of dimension to your sky. So really, really, really sort of subtle, right? Just those little pockets of yellow. I'm gonna add a few more around. So I'll just put this over here. Okay. Okay, so, and this again, this is all if you want to add it, so don't feel like you have to. Okay, maybe I'll add a little bit over here. Oh, I like that. So I'm actually gonna mix the yellow and the white together to get something a little bit lighter. So if you're working with colors, you can use white, and that really can lighten things up. So I'm gonna go to this lighter area, you can see here, and I'm gonna add sort of this lighter yellow. Yeah. Gonna have a little bit up here. So yeah, just very, very subtle. And then as this dries, as it gets drier, I'm gonna be adding some darker blue, and maybe even a little bit of, mix it with like a little bit of black or gray, to build sort of more of this sort of moody sky. So let's do that actually. So I'm gonna get just a rough beaten up brush. Oh, that's already coming apart. Well, maybe we won't use that brush. Let's use, yeah, we'll use this one. So this you can see. Okay. There you go, brush wet. So I'm gonna go back to my blues. And I'm gonna get my brush nice and wet. So this is a nice juicy wet blue. And I'm just gonna work on creating sort of like seeing what we can do. Start creating just a little bit of an outline here. I like creating like a sense of a border. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna bring that blue in. Okay, we're gonna keep bringing that blue in. Okay, I'm actually gonna switch and I love using a bigger brush. Side note. So I'm just gonna try to bring this blue in. So add it, so I'm gonna wisp it in. And this is just building more texture in the sky. So this just will make your sky more dynamic. Okay, we'll keep bringing that in. Nice. Cool. Yeah. Oh yeah, that's good. I like that. So I'm just gonna bring some more blues, like sort of all around. So I'm creating like, it's almost like creating a sense of a border with the sky, you know? And when I paint with watercolors, you'll notice I like to do lots of little dabs. Lots of little dabs. And this just really kind of creates a lot of texture. So you're automatically like giving some, a bit more density to the canvas paper. And I'm kind of leaving little bits here, little pops of white. And that's just, you know, to mimic clouds. So yeah, lots of little dabs, just like that. I'm painting over that yellow as well, so that's helping it to blend in a bit. Okay, nice. So now I want to bring, see, you can see on the edges here, let's bring this up. So this is where I added that darker blue around here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this blue and kind of add a bit more darker blues around the edge. So you can see it's giving like this sort of, it's framing the sky in a very kind of specific way. I think that's sort of a neat technique that I use a lot that gives, yeah, it makes the picture sort of pop out a bit more. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to maybe add just a little bit of black, just to make it darker. So I've added just a little bit of black into the blue, and we will see what that does. Okay, so now we're adding just little dabs, you can see little dabs of the darker blue. Just a little touch of black. Kind of bringing it up. Almost gives it like an old-timey kind of look. Not old-timey, but you know, like that photography from like back in the day. I like that. I like this so much, this black and blue. I'm going to take this black and blue right here. I'm going to add it more to the edges here because you can see how dark that looks. Kind of adds a bit of a darkness. I like that. Okay, so I'm going to grab some of this black, a little bit of blue, and we're just going to add that in the corners. Now the cool thing about watercolor is you'll notice that when it dries differently. You know, with acrylics you can really see, in oil and acrylics you can see how your picture is going to look. But watercolor, when it dries, the effect is very, very unique. You might see watermarks on your paper, but they dry in such a neat way that it's beautiful. Okay, I like that. So now I want this sky to dry. We've been working on it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to work on the bottom half. This is like the grassy area, I guess. We'll do it as grass or fields. Maybe even do like yellow fields. Yeah. But firstly, I have to take this paper off. So I'm going to show you what this does. So we're going to go like this. You can see, look at that nice clean line. Ooh. So I'm just going to pull this up slowly. This is painter's tape. Is that showing up? Oh yeah. So it's a good tape because it has less impact on your paper. You still have to be gentle though. You still have to be gentle with the tape. You can't just rip it up or else you'll pull up bits of the paper with it. But just be careful. Take a nice gentle pull. And, oh, see, I got a little bit of paper there. That's okay. Oh, come on. Oh, I got a lot of paper. Oh my god. I pulled up too fast. Okay. Well, that's fine. Nothing's perfect. So now you can see we have a nice horizon line. See there? Almost as if there's trees in the distance. See? So I think, I think for this, we're going to use some green. We're going to create a bit of a field, and we'll want 2 brushes for this. So for this, the top part, we did a wet on wet. So I brushed the whole canvas, made it wet, or the top part. And then I took wet paint, dabbed my brush, and you got some of these cool effects, like the way the water has sort of spread out in certain parts. So what I'm going to do for this is going to be wet on dry. So this is very traditional. This is just taking paint, it's a dry surface, and then doing your thing. But to get that effect of a field, I'm actually going to use this one. Check it out. So I'm going to add the color here, mostly, and you end up being able to just dab it. There's another technique we could use. I have some sponges, and that could work as well, but I think for today I'll try this, and if it doesn't work, then I'll grab my sponge and I'll show you. So let's do this. So I think I'll just stick with a green. So I'm just gonna dab that brush. Okay, so we have a couple of greens. I think I'm gonna use this hunter green. So you can see I got the paint there. Then it's all also like there's sort of an element of experimentation. And I'm just gonna slowly, almost like stippling, I think that's the word. I'm just gonna add this green all over. And we're gonna keep it like in a bit of a U, because we're gonna add some water here. We're gonna create like sort of a bit of a lake effect. So just keep adding that green. I'm just continue to just dab that, and then really just put that color in. Nice. So I want this to sort of dry a bit. And I'll show you that effect. So now you can see it's got this sort of like greenery in the forefront. So there's the horizon line, like there's a sense of distance. So what I'm gonna do is I have the green, the grass, the bushes, whatever we want them to be. And then this I'm gonna fill in with some lighter, maybe black. I'll use black just to create a dark waterfront. So let's do that. Have a sip of my coffee. Okay, so I don't want to use the same brush, but I do want to use this brush. So it's a bit of a wider brush, and then I'll use this to put the water on. So I'll get that wet. I'm just going to dab this. Just back and forth like this. So once I get some black on, I'm going to put some blue in. So want to trace where you think the water would be to create like a bit of a lake effect. I'm going to rinse that brush to get the black off. Watercolor is also very nice because it rinses very well, rinses easily. I'm going to grab another paper towel and fold this. Let's put it down. So I'm going to wet my brush again. And we're going to pick up this blue. Then I'm actually going to use a smaller brush because it's a bit more detailed. Okay, so I've actually switched to a smaller brush. We're going to pull up some of this blue. And just where there's spaces, I'm going to add the blue into this black. So I'm going to use the blue to sort of to smooth out these edges, to give the water more of that lakey look. Okay, so I'm going to bring it over here as well. And again, just to smooth out that space. It's not so jagged. So the nice thing when you do work with watercolor is when you want an area to dry, you can work on a different area that you've been working on. So this sky, for example, is feeling pretty good, pretty dry. So we're gonna be able to return to that top part and add more colors if you want. For now, I'm just gonna keep adding this blue. Just gonna fill in. I'm going to leave, there's lots of sort of little splotches of white. I'm going to leave those, mostly. Eyeball it, do it however you want to. But I think, yeah, it kind of gives like a neat effect. Okay. So this is sort of like a darker watery effect, but you can see it, how that blue and the black sort of blend together. I like keeping these little flecks of white throughout, sort of to add a little bit of texture to the water, the dark water. And you know what? I might end up adding maybe like a moon or something. But what I'm gonna do right now, because this green is pretty dry, I'm gonna work on building up this green area. Hopefully, yeah. You know, I'm actually gonna work on the sky because I want this to dry a bit more so then the green doesn't interfere or blend too much with it. So let's do that. Yeah, okay. I think I'm gonna make some kind of moon, and I'm gonna make it sort of blue. Okay, so this is kind of neat. I'm gonna use, let's see, perfect. So this is, I have some film in here, some Kodak film. Um, I'm just gonna use the lid to trace my moon. And I'll probably, where should I put it? Like there? Yeah, we'll do it in the center. I almost wish it was a bit bigger. I have a camera lens. That could go there. Yeah, that's a good idea. Okay, so basically you can find any sort of makeshift, um, whatever you happen to have, to create a moon effect. So I'm actually going to do it right here, dead center. And we are going to just give a little bit of a trace. So I'm using that pencil again. Oops. Perfect. So now we have the outline. And we're just going to fill that in. And my moon, yeah, I think I want my moon. There's blues, there's purples. Maybe I'll just make it like a multicolored moon. So again, whatever you want to do, right? Like if you want it to be white, you can make it just like a white moon, but, or I can start with gray. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, so we have a bit of a gray moment here, which I love. See that? So we're going to use this gray to fill in that moon. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yes, there's a line, but also does not have to be perfect. But it does take some concentration to stay in the line. If you've been watching so far and you're listening, I sound stuffed up. I've been sick. I've been kind of getting over it, kind of not. It's been very frustrating. I don't recommend getting sick during the holidays. It's just really threw a wrench in all of my planning. Because I couldn't go out. I couldn't go. I couldn't do anything. But I feel much better today, and I'm thankful that I can be here making some art. Okay, nice. I like that. So I'm going to pull up just a bit more gray. We're just filling this in. I will want to dry because I want to add a bit more to make it look more spherical. I want to be able to add a bit more like sort of darker colors on the edge, but I do like how that's looking. That's very nice. So we'll just bring you up over here. There you can see, so this moon effect. So this moody sky with the moon just chilling and this dark water. Ooh. I like the idea of these highlights of white around the edge as well. It's kind of giving a sense of the reflection of the moon. So I'm gonna take a bit of white. I'm gonna try to add like a sense of that moonness to the paper. So yeah, it's looking good. Okay, so dipping that. Now what I'm going to do, this watercolor can impact your paint squares. So I like to just use a bit of paper towel and you can soak up that color that's been in the pad. So now I've got a nice, fairly clean pad of white. Okay, so I'm gonna dab, get the brush wet again, pull up some of this white. I'm using the smaller brush again because this is more sort of detail work. Just gonna add a little bit of white around the edges. Again, this is just sort of enhance the idea of the moon glow. So anywhere you think the moon might be creating light or lighting up the dark corners. Okay. A little bit of that moon glow in the water. Yeah, I like that. Nice. Okay, good. So now, what I'm gonna do, just to keep adding a bit more weight. It's very subtle. It's very subtle. Okay, now so now, yeah, we are gonna work on building up this green part. I want it to be a bit darker, a bit more dynamic. So we're gonna let this rest. And I'm gonna use this brush actually. So if you've never worked with this brush, this is called, you can see it, a fan brush. So you can see, it's kind of got that, looks like a fan. So what we can do with this is we can put the green on and you can create sort of a grassy effect. And this will just help fill in the space. We are going to start with a bit of this lighter green. We're basically gonna go between four colors actually, like this medium green, the darker green, just a hint of black, because it is like nighttime, and then some of this this yellow, mustardy yellow. We're gonna start at the bottom, because that's where we want to fill in some of those gaps. And there we go. Nice. I like how this lighter green looks, how it's sort of layering on top of. So with the fan brush, you get nice, sort of a nice wispy, you can create like a nice wispy effect, which kind of mimics grass. But we're just gonna go through And again, just sort of dabbing, light little brush strokes. You don't want to go too heavy. As I've said before, when you go a little bit lighter, a little bit more delicate, you can create sort of this texture with the color, within the color. Versus like if you just sort of went all the way across, you would get like a nice flat, even color. But this way, when you do this, you create this sort of neat texture. Ooh, that looks good. Ooh. Love it. I love it. Oh my God. Now I'm actually like, I don't know if I'll add black. Okay, I'll add some of the darker green. Let's do that. Oh yeah, you can see that. Nice. Yeah, looks good. So I'm adding some of this hunter green. We're going to do this at the bottom. Similar to how we use the blue here at the top to sort of create a sense of that border, like a bit of a framing technique. We're going to do that at the bottom as well with the green. If you want a bit of a darker color, you can always like not use as much water when you're on the actual pad of color. So you can see you get like a darker hue, and the opacity is much is better. Again, create that sort of a nice sort of framework. Yes. So now I'm gonna keep going, doing little brush strokes like this. We're just going to keep doing these delicate little brush strokes to create that grassy effect. I like the idea of the white having a bit of an outline around the lake. Kind of adds to that sort of nighttime glow. So I think we'll keep that. It's always good as we're doing this, I'm going to pause for a second and I'm going to sit back and sort of look at it. So what you can do is, so I'm done with that. We're going to step back and we're just going to have a look at it. And I love how that looks. Very cool. Turned out really nice. So I think we're just going to add a couple of more like darker, a little bit of darker blue. And then maybe, oh no, I'll add texture to the moon. That's what we'll do. I like the way this looks, but it's nice to step back because then you can assess, see what you've done, and then, you know, you can even take a little break. You go like get a coffee or use the restroom if need be, and then come back and you have a bit of a fresher, you know, sometimes when you're just staring at something and you're just working on it, you can lose sight of your creative flow. So it's nice to step back, not think about it for a minute, then come back and be like, oh, okay, I'm gonna add something there. So I stood up, I looked at it, and I thought I wanted to do the sky again, but I'm actually gonna add more color to the moon. Okay. So for that, we're gonna use a smaller brush. Okay, so I don't want too much water on this because I want to get I want more color to be on here. So I don't want it to be too wet. bit. I just want to moisten the. I'm just going to pull this white across. Yeah, I love how white sort of really adds to it in a nice way. Okay, good. Because moons are not so smooth. Moons have craters on them. The moon. Oh yeah, that's nice. Get a little bit tighter with this white here. Try to push it right to the line. Oh yeah, nice. I'm gonna add still some more lots of white. Yeah, I really like that. Okay, that looks nice. Just try to add a little bit of texture. And again, as you're working on this, you know, we really want you to take this and to make it your own. So I think I'm feeling pretty good. I'm obsessing about this white right now. Jeez. Nice. But I think I'm gonna wrap this up. Okay, good. And then once it's dry, you can take the tape off and you'll have to just fill in some of these edges. You can see that there's a little bit of that. I'll show you actually. So I'm gonna put this. So I added some white to the moon just to give a bit of texture. bit of depth, and then I'm gonna leave the sky as is. Same with the green, I've sort of built up that darker color. So again, it creates a sense of framing. So it's just, it's a good technique to create a frame. You know, this will be put into a frame, but it sort of creates a frame within a frame. And then we had this water here. I use black and blue, really emblematic of the night. So you can tell it's more, gives it more of a nighttime scene. Um, what else do we got here? We've got the horizon line. You pull up the tape. Those little details that can be just painted in with green. So, okay, I'm just gonna flip this around. Okay, so, we're feeling good. And that was great. I think it's really cool to be able to be here with you and to, you know, be creative and to, whether or not you participated or just watched, I think what's important is being involved in this creative community. I think that it is, you know, I've said it before, I just think creativity and art is very grounding, and participating in a creative community really kind of nourishes the soul, like makes you feel good. Finding people who have common ground, and our common ground is art. So as I finish this up, I just want to say thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for participating and being involved with ArtBeat. We're so grateful for everyone in our community, and we want to, even though we're on a holiday break, we still want to be here virtually, being able to do this with you today. So thank you very much from our hearts, and I hope everyone has a very restful New Year's. That's coming up around the corner, and I just want everyone to feel, to think about the new year coming, and to feel good knowing that once the break is done, we'll come and find each other, friends, and make art together in person. So anyways, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I'll see if I can figure out how to turn this thing off. I don't think I do. I will just go like this. Okay. Okay, bye.